Taehyung's expression softens, and he reaches out to take Jungkook's hand in his own. You don't have to do it alone, love. I'll be here, every step of the way. But you have to decide, because this isn't fair to anyone. Jungkook looks down at their intertwined hands, the warmth of Taehyung's touch grounding him in the moment. He takes a deep breath, nodding slowly. You're right, he says finally, his voice trembling but resolute. I have to end it. I need to find the right moment. Taehyung squeezes his hands gently, offering a small, encouraging smile. The right moment isn't going to magically appear, Cookie. Sometimes, you have to make it happen. Jungkook lets out a shaky laugh, his lips curling into a faint smile. God, you're annoying when you're right. Taehyung chuckles, the tension in the air easing slightly. Well, someone's gotta be the voice of reason around here. Jungkook leans into him, resting his head on Taehyung's shoulder, finding comfort in the steady rhythm of his breathing. For a moment, they sit in silence, the weight of the conversation hanging between them. I'll figure it out, Jungkook murmurs. I'll end it. For us, Taehyung presses the top of Jungkook's head, his voice soft but firm. I'm here for you, love. Always. Jungkook leans back against the seat, his mischievous grin widening as Taehyung's protests grow more animated. It's clear the idea is ludicrous, wild, even, but Jungkook is nothing if not stubborn. He crosses his arms, cocking his head to the side with a defiant look in his eyes. Oh, come on, Taehyung. Think about it for a second, Jungkook says, his voice tinged with amusement. If you show up, pretend to be my dad, and play the part just long enough to get Nick off my back, it could solve everything. Taehyung's jaw drops, his disbelief morphing into a mix of exasperation and incredulity. Solve everything? Jungkook, this isn't one of your reality shows. It's not going to magically fix things. It'll make it worse. Jungkook shrugs nonchalantly, his grin unfaltering. Or it might actually work. You're a great actor, Tae. You could pull it off. Oh, so now you want me to lie and pretend to be your father to protect your little web of deceit? Brilliant plan, Cookie. Absolutely brilliant, Taehyung says, his sarcasm dripping with frustration. What's next? Do you want me to take him out for a beer and give him fatherly advice too? Jungkook rolls his eyes, his patience thinning. Taehyung, stop being so dramatic. You said you wanted me to figure this out, and this is me figuring it out. If you'd just play along for one dinner, we could buy some time while I figure out how to end things with Nick. Taehyung lets out a humorous laugh, rubbing his temples as if trying to ward off an impending headache. Jungkook, this is insane. You're asking me to sit across from a guy I despise and pretend to be his future father-in-law. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that sounds? I do, Jungkook says with a smirk, leaning closer to Taehyung. But it's also kind of genius, isn't it? No, it's not genius. And you know it. Come on, Taehyung, Jungkook pleads, his tone softening. Just one dinner. One awkward meal, and then I'll sort everything out. I promise. Taehyung groans, running a hand through his curls in frustration. Jungkook, this is going to backfire. Spectacularly, but it might not, Jungkook counters, his voice filled with a mix of hope and determination. And if it does, I'll take full responsibility. Please, Tae. Taehyung looks at Jungkook, the younger man's wide, pleading eyes tugging at his resolve. He knows this plan is a disaster waiting to happen, But he also knows he can never to Jungkook when he looks at him like that. Fine, Taehyung finally mutters, throwing his hands up in surrender. But I swear, Cookie, if this goes south, I'm blaming you entirely. Jungkook beams, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. I knew you'd see reason. Taehyung glares at him, though there's a hint of fondness in his expression. Don't push your luck, never, Jungkook says with a wink, already plotting the details of their ridiculous scheme. Taehyung sighed, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly as Jungkook leaned in closer, his voice soft and persuasive. Please, Taehyung. Just think about it. If we can get through this dinner, maybe Nick will stop asking questions. It'll make everything easier. Taehyung shot him a disbelieving look. Easier? You want me to sit through a dinner pretending to be your father while your boyfriend gushes over me? You call that easier? Jungkook tried to keep a straight face, despite the ridiculousness of the situation. It's one dinner. You're a great actor, you could pull it off, Taehyung scoffed. Oh, sure. Let me just practice my fatherly advice and bring a pipe for the full effect. Lovely to meet you, Nick. Did you know I'm the one your boyfriend's actually in bed with? Sounds like a flawless plan, Cookie. Taehyung, I'm serious, Jungkook said, his tone softening. I need you to do this. For us, Taehyung sighed again, running a hand through his curls. This isn't a game, Cookie. What you're asking, it's insane. Just one dinner, Jungkook pleaded. You always know how to handle tough situations. You could do this. Taehyung shook his head, his lips set in a thin line. And what's next? Family holidays? Matching sweaters for Christmas photos? Jungkook couldn't help the laugh that bubbled up at the thought, but he quickly schooled his expression. No, just this. I swear. Taehyung's eyes narrowed as he studied Jungkook, his resistance clearly faltering. You're unbelievable. Jungkook moved closer, placing a hand on Taehyung's arm. His touch was light, almost hesitant. Please, Taehyung. I need you. Taehyung let out a low groan, shaking his head in defeat. You're lucky I love you. Jungkook's face broke into a bright smile, and he reached over to hug him tightly. I knew you'd say yes. You're the best. But, Taehyung said firmly, pulling back to look at Jungkook, if this goes sideways, if Nick figures anything out or says something stupid, I'm done. You're cleaning up the mess. Understood, understood. Jungkook agreed quickly, his relief evident. You won't regret this. Taehyung sighed again, his hand dropping to his lap as he stared at Jungkook. I already do. Jungkook grinned, leaning over to press a quick kiss on Taehyung's cheek. You're amazing, Tae. Taehyung rolled his eyes, but there was a hint of a smile on his lips. Yeah. Let's just get this over with. Jungkook couldn't help the flutter in his chest at Taehyung's reluctant agreement. He knew it wasn't fair to drag him into this mess, but he also knew he couldn't face it alone. The thought of Nick's persistent questions and the impossible facade he was maintaining was already exhausting enough. Taehyung's involvement, however reluctant, gave him some hope of survival. The ride back to Jungkook's apartment was unusually quiet. Taehyung kept his eyes on the road, his jaw tense, while Jungkook fidgeted with the hem of his shirt, stealing glances at the man beside him. The tension was palpable, but neither seemed willing to break the silence. When they finally pulled into the parking lot, Taehyung cut the engine and turned to face Jungkook. His green eyes were sharp, piercing, but laced with concern. This better be worth it, Cookie, Taehyung said, his voice low but firm. I'm serious. If this doesn't work, you're coming clean to him. No more games. Jungkook nodded quickly, his fingers twisting together. I know. I promise, Taehyung. This is the last thing. After this, I'll figure it out. Taehyung studied him for a moment, his expression softening slightly. He reached over, brushing a strand of hair from Jungkook's face. You better. I'm not doing this for Nick, I'm doing this for you. Because I love you, even when you make things impossible. Jungkook's heart clenched at the words, guilt mingling with the rush of affection. He leaned into Taehyung's touch, his voice barely above a whisper. I love you too, Taehyung sighed, his hand dropping to his side. Get some rest. You've got a lot to figure out before this dinner. And Cookie, he paused, waiting until Jungkook met his gaze again. No more surprises. I mean it, I swear, Jungkook said, his voice steady this time. No more surprises. As Jungkook climbed out of the car and headed inside, he couldn't shake the unease settling in his chest. The idea of this dinner still felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of lies, but he was determined to make it work. For Taehyung. For them. Inside, he collapsed onto the couch, pulling a throw blanket over himself as his mind raced. He needed a plan, a convincing script that would satisfy Nick without raising suspicion. He glanced at his phone, dread pooling in his stomach as he saw Nick's name pop up with another text. So, dinner with your dad tomorrow? Can't wait to meet him, Jungkook groaned, covering his face with a pillow. What have I gotten myself into?